So it's been recently reported that the goals for the engine formula for 2026 have been unveiled, and I'm calling these the Porsche formula because, let's be honest, the whole Porsche joining Formula 1 thing was all going to be down to what the engine regulations would be for 2026, which is something I covered when the rumours first broke and how it was all going to be, hey, must be the money. Formula 1 will stick with the whole V6 turbo hybrid thing because smaller, fuel-efficient engines are the way the world is going, and the FIA has outlined 4 key pillars of these new regulations. Number 1. Environmental sustainability. This will no doubt get people's eyes rolling in their heads, but F1 is going to be ditching the current E10 fuel that you'll be able to get from any petrol pump up and down the UK and the European continent, and will be going to some 100% sustainable biofuel or something along those lines, which should, you'd hope, accelerate biofuel technology, or at least alternative fuel technology, and reduce our dependence on fossil fuels, your traditional petrol and diesel. We might actually get some cheap petrol for a change. Number 2. Financial sustainability. It's no secret that these turbo hybrid engines are expensive. Really expensive. 25 to 30 years ago, that was the entire budget of a backmarker team for just 1 year, and it kind of goes against this whole we need to reduce costs but please use engine that is, well, really expensive. I can't do the maths, but the engines in 2008 cost about $160,000, which I can find. So $160,000 versus $10.5 million. It's quite the markup. It's reckoned that each of the engine manufacturers has spent about $1 billion apiece developing these engines since they started working on them in 2012 to 2013. Aim number 3. Make the sport more attractive to new engine manufacturers. Translation: we're changing these engine rules because Porsche said they wouldn't join if we didn't. Now, Porsche and Audi are the 2 manufacturers most interested in joining Formula 1, but I highly doubt anybody else will. Would Ford want to come back under the Cosworth name? Chevrolet, Toyota making a comeback? Gonna have to hit X to doubt on that one, given that Ford, Toyota and GM are currently already having a lot of fun in NASCAR, Indy and or endurance racing right now. And point numero 4, maintaining the spectacle. Ding, 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 ding. There it is, mentioning the show. F1 bingo complete. Although this actually is something that the fans will want. It means that the newer engines will rev higher while still producing the current power output of about 1,000 horsepower. So how will they achieve this then? The first thing they're going to do is remove the MGUH, the motor generator unit heat portion of the system, which is the only portion of the engine assembly, the power unit, that has absolutely zero road relevance whatsoever. No hybrid car on the market has one. At least no hybrid car on the market you'd actually buy has one. I don't know if the AMG Project 1 or whatever it is has got an MGUH on board. The Hyundai Ioniq, a car I love, has no MGUH. From 2026, if you own a hybrid, you'll be able to say you have a car with the same engine layout as a Formula 1 car. You'll have 3 fewer cylinders, but the packaging will be at least similar. Terms and conditions apply, obviously. Ditching the MGUH will also have 2 upsides. Number 1 is that the overall engine assembly will be smaller. It will also be lighter. Whether that will one day translate into smaller cars, I'm going to have to believe that when I see it, because the FIA will no doubt say that the chonk on these modern cars is because of safety. And adding to the lightness, this new non-fossil fuel will burn much slower than the current E10 10% ethanol 90% petrol mix they use today. In 2013, the V8 started a race with about 160 kilos of fuel in the tank. In 2020, that was down to about 100 kilos of fuel. In 2026, they're aiming for just 70, which will bring the weight of the cars down just 30 kilos in fuel alone, which will make the cars faster at the start of the race and I think should make the cars a little easier on the tyres. Combine that 30 kilos saving with the lighter power unit, the cars might actually look less sluggish on the telly. But who knows. The FIA will also in turn allow the electrical battery to produce almost double the power it is producing today, which will also have 2 things attached to it. Number 1, well, same power outputs, and number 2, it might reintroduce turbo lag, making the cars less predictable on corner exits. It puts more in the hands of the drivers, which is what people want, right? Even though these new rules were really just designed to bring in Porsche and keep them happy, on paper at least, it looks like semi-good news all round. What's also been announced is the changes to hopefully reduce the porpoising, a phenomenon that did exist in the old ground effect era, but when it came back this year it caught everybody by surprise. And there was a bit of a back and forth with this because of the whole you're only saying you want this change for safety but really it's because you've built a bad car between Red Bull, Mercedes and also the rabid fan bases online. The problem is now, with testing and development so restricted, getting out of these holes is going to be even more difficult for teams up and down the grid. Even the Ferrari and Red Bull are porpoising to an extent, and the concerns are surrounding mini concussions due to the driver and that squidgy thing in their head being rattled around at those frequencies. Probably doesn't help that the suspension in ground effect style cars has to be super stiff, and there was actually a science paper written in 1987 that explained that the back pain experienced by drivers decreased substantially in 1983, the first season after ground effect was originally banned. Now, naturally, Red Bull's response to the complaints from other teams would be, well, we've got it under control, not our fault. But if this was Red Bull that was being told to raise its ride height, Christian Horner would say, why should we? We all know it, and you would have to be a rather large Red Bull enthusiast to pretend it wouldn't be the case. It's all gamesmanship, and they're all at it. If they had the testing time they had in the 90s, all of this would have been solved by Australia. But I'll just leave it there on the whole porpoising thing. The drivers have a right to say, look, this is a thing, can you look into it? And Red Bull also has the right to say, well, we've sorted it, why can't you? But it looks like somehow they've all managed to come up with some sort of arrangement. It's actually very difficult to come up with anything to say here. Both sides are in the right. And even with all the pain some drivers are in, they won't put the ride height up because, well, they'd drive on fire if it meant that somehow they'd be faster. But that's for you lot to fight about in the comments. So that's pretty much it for this installment. I'm not really with it at the minute, I'm just not feeling too great, but still it's all looking interesting for Formula 1 despite the whole bias towards Porsche thing going on here in terms of the engine regulations. But if you've enjoyed this video, then do consider giving it a like. Just consider it briefly, and then don't. And for more stuff like this, get subscribed and also get the bell on so you never miss out on a future video. Massive thanks to the kind folk at Patreon for the continued support, and if you want to help contribute to the image buying fund, you can donate via the link in the description, or there's super thanks or whatever. But only if you want to, obviously. I'm not Bernie Sanders once again asking for your help, or however that meme goes. But anyway, thanks for watching. I've been Millward. Have a great day wherever you live in the world, and goodbye.